Because it's not just stuff that I sacrifice, it's everything. So if like the Hobbit deck is creating and sacrificing foods, she just gets bigger.
Wait, that says whenever a player. I kept thinking that was you.
No,
wow.
a player.
Oh no, so my whole deck is sacrifice loops.
You're
Oh no. Buy brew battle. Welcome to the Precon Live podcast, where we solved the pregame rule zero talk. We just don't have them. Instead, we level up basic Magic the Gathering pre-constructed decks in a competitive league setting. Everyone starts on a level playing field with an unaltered precon. Each player brews a budget upgrade path to level up their deck over a 10-week season in a quest to earn the most wins. Take it and break it on a budget. I'm Clutchness.
I'm Grumpy Chris.
And I'm Saki Juicebox.
Welcome to the podcast. Pass priority.
How'd your games go this week? Let's do a quick recap. Don't get into serious detail because nobody actually cares. But we'll...
They're here for the upgrades and the decks. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. I'll jump in front of it. Clavilino and the vampires always go first. No, it went all right. I actually performed pretty well. We were playing a Blink deck, and of course, Chris, you were in the pod. It went all right. I'm a little unhappy with where we are with the deck, and I'll get into that with my updates, but I did fairly well. One of my ads, the Pandorica, really helped out because it locked down one of the commanders that, as you said, goes off with a ham sandwich. And so I was able to keep that player from comboing off multiple rounds.
Yeah, that was the only thing keeping him down for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. So that was a great ad. Really enjoyed that. But ultimately, I lost. Sad face. But yeah, how about you, Chris? What did you think of that?
Well, I won, but only because the Blink player screwed up his combo and was honest enough to admit it afterwards, after everybody had already scooped.
Yeah.
So also, like you, this season, now my only win is somebody screwing up their combo and then
winners by default,
fessing up to it. We won by default.
Yeah.
And that's not a great feeling, but it's not terrible either. How about you, Brant?
Hey, a sloppy win is a win. Any win is a win, right? You look back a few weeks from now and you barely remember. My deck did not do exciting things as it has in the past. Let's go check out the deck here. So yeah, it added some upgrades and I saw a couple of them. I think 3, but I wasn't really able to do much with them. I did try to combo off and go for the win, but I was stopped with some interaction, which I kind of expected. I didn't really have anything to push it through all the way, and I just went for it. You know, sometimes you can pull off a sloppy win like that when people are tapped down. But basically, it ended up being me having to blow up the world and pretty much gave the game to somebody with indestructible creatures. But I had no choice. It was that or die sooner. So my game wasn't that exciting. Yeah, I just watched it burn, yeah, basically. But, you know, it bought me a couple of extra turns. I was the next to last person to die. So,
all right.
But I lost. But I was able to get $5 in upgrades for this week. So that's the exciting part for me.
What are you adding?
Well, so this week, it's really just kind of a hodgepodge of things that the deck is needing. You know, I really found that at this point in the season, Miro's loading slowly. Halfway point. That is the halfway point. And, you know, at this point, that's a lot of points.
Can you think you can say point a few more times?
I don't know. I'm probably going to have to say that one all over and just cut this.
Make a point of it.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely make a point of that. All right. So let me get to the point. It's that I didn't have enough answers. I've been going clock, right? Just everything I can to get my deck up to speed, trying to combo off quickly because, you know, the game before last, I was down to 20 life before anybody was below 40. And, you know, I expect that's going to happen, so I just need to be faster. And this week, I realized I definitely need some answers. For example, if I had had a Path to Exile, the last couple of games, I think I would have been sitting pretty. 1 white, instant, exile target creature. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. The Path to Exile just got reprinted in Murders at Karlov Manor. And so that one, 72 cents is a good deal. Because at this point, Game 5, a lot of people already have their decks online. And they're coming out swinging. So I added Path to Exile. Also, I've added Austere Command to replace a crappy board wipe that I had taken out. That's 2 white, 4 other, sorcery, and you get to choose 2. Destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with mana value 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. What I'm looking at is I have no enchantments at all in this deck. My commander is CMC 4. And I've got some other ones, but not that many compared to my CMC 3 and less. So what I'm thinking is typically I'll probably end up choosing the big creatures, destroy all creatures with mana 4 or greater, and then second choice, destroy all enchantments. So with that, I mean,
It's a
kill
great
my
card.
commander. Yeah, 64 cents of devastation. But there's just so many token decks. So I think that could help keep my commander alive, destroy all their tokens, or if I have to destroy all the big stuff, then at least I can keep my small creatures, my small utility creatures, and then definitely enchantments every time.
I love these versatile board wipes. I think they're some of the best cards in the format. The ability to just pick exactly what you want to get rid of is incredibly valuable. I see you're moved on Moonsilver Key finally.
Yeah, it finally arrived in the mail thanks to TCG Player. I got this card, and it's 2 colorless, artifact. Spend 1, tap it, sack it, search your library for an artifact with a mana ability or a basic land card, and then reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And so you turned me on to this, and I think that's a great card because, like you said, I can search for an artifact with a mana ability like Ashnod's Altar. And next week, when I add another upgrade you mentioned, Cursed Mirror, that's coming in next week. It's 1 red and 2 generic for an artifact that you can tap for a red. So that qualifies as an artifact with a mana ability. And as it enters the battlefield, you can have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, and it has haste. So that actually combos with Sharum the Hegemon. The Hegemon. So 5/5 flyer for 6. It's Esper and 3. When Sharum the Hegemon enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And so there's actually a combo that you can play something to copy it, right? And then the legend rule kicks in, and then you have to sack one of them, like say the original, but you've already got the ETB on the stack. So now you bring back the original with the Cursed Mirrors ability, and then you just loop it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that works really well with things like, Mayhem Devil or this Elasil Core Sadistic Pilgrim. Both of those basically do damage or loss of life whenever I sacrifice a creature or goes to the graveyard. So I've got some plans for that coming up next week.
What else did you add this week? Pull from Eternity.
Yeah, now this one's preemptive because I have been hearing a lot of chatter in this league from participants saying, oh, I need to add Graveyard Hate. Oh, I need to just add something to exile cards from your graveyard. And so I thought I need to beat them to the punch. So I'm adding Pull from Eternity. Sadly, I don't have a good tutor in there yet, like a, transmute. I don't have a good transmute card. What's that one? Dizzy Spell? Is that the 1-drop blue? I think it is. Yeah, you get to discard it and then go find a 1-drop. I don't have that in here yet. Maybe later if I get other good 1-drops. But right now, I don't have a lot of 1-drops. So no good tutors for them. So I'm just going to have to rely on card draw to get to Pull from Eternity. But the idea is just hold on to that for when they do exile my combo piece, because if Ashnod's is down, it's going to be a lot harder for me to win. So I need some card draw. Now, this one actually was recommended on a previous episode by Sake, if I remember right. Transplant Theorist. I found this in my bulk because it's an uncommon from Phyrexia All Will Be One. It's 1 blue, 3 other for an artifact creature, Phyrexian Artificer, 2/4. And when Transplant Theorist or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Imagine that every time you cast Brea and you get the 2 extra Thopters, that's 3 triggers right there. 3 artifacts entering the battlefield, loot 3 times. And then it's a 2/4, so it's got a little bit of a butt to block. And it has another ability, 2 generic, put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. And the thing is, at this point in the season, everybody's trying to take out my combo piece. And if I lose that Ashnod's Altar, it's pretty much game over. I don't really have too much to fall back on. And this is going to help. If they try to target it while it's in the graveyard, I'm going to be able to tuck it back into the library, and I've got plenty of ways to search it back up. So that actually makes it a little more flexible. But one of the things that I think is great about this over the red version that is a rummage effect, what was that called? Quicksmith
Genius, I think.
Quicksmith Genius, yeah. So Quicksmith Genius is red. It costs 1 less, but it doesn't have this extra ability that Transplant Theorist has, which is spend 2, put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. And so I think, a loot effect with the ability to save a combo piece after it gets destroyed, if somebody's Soul Guide Lantern or, Bajuka Bog, whatever, if somebody tries to exile my graveyard, I'm going to be able to save it with Transplant Theorist. So that's not really worth 1 extra mana in my opinion, but the fact that I get to loot instead of rummage is. Because I've found this deck, like you said, it's severely lacking in some card draw right out of the box. And, having to discard a card first might be really tough. I need to be able to draw, and if that card's trash, pitch it so I can get to some heat the next draw. So
I like that reasoning.
Thank you. So I've learned some tricks listening to you. Hopefully the listeners learn some tricks as well. Yeah, so this week I took out Navinral's Disc. It's not that the card is bad. It's just that it destroys all of my stuff as well, and a lot of times I need to keep some of those pieces on the field. And, on top of that, it's just a kind of a salty card. So I'm replacing that with Austere Command. I'm getting rid of Sidri Galvanic Genius. Doesn't really do anything for the deck. A legend that can turn non-creature artifacts into artifact creatures. And yeah. Bruce Tarl, pretty cool card, but not in this deck. Same with Akiri Lineslinger, another cool partner, but I don't need either of those commanders in here. I'm running Brea, and they don't really do anything for the strategy that I'm going for. And then Trading Post. I thought a lot about this one, but to draw a card, I have to sacrifice an artifact, spend 4 to cast this artifact, and 1 to activate it. So 5 mana to drop this artifact, tap it, sack another artifact, and then draw a card. Too much. Transplant Theorist, way better value. So yeah, hodgepodge of cards. I've got 2 removals. I've got a tutor. I've got an answer and card draw. Hopefully
Nice.
That'll get me a win next week.
Well, good luck.
Thanks. What about you guys?
Dan, you want to jump on because there's been quite a dramatic change in your deck this week.
Boom. Yeah, let's go ahead and go over that. I'm breaking up with Clavilino.
It is
He
right
makes me
before
sad.
Valentine's.
Yeah, I know, right?
So grim.
It is.
Gonna be
Well, it
crying
is.
blood.
Vampires. Yeah. He's like a drummer. I got to give him off my. No, he's fine. Listen, Clavilino has a really neat ability, and in a mid-range, slower environment, I think he's great. But his ability is not abusable. First of all, he's very fair. But some of the other decks in this format already are leaving me in the dust as far as card draw goes. And his ability to turn an attacking vampire into a tapped demon, it's just a very slow ability, and I'm not getting a whole lot of draw off him. So I'm making the switch. It's halfway through season. I've done it before, and occasionally, it it benefits. So I'm going with the alternate commander that came in the deck. Carmen Cruel Sky Mercher. She's a little top heavy at 5 CMC. She's 3 white and a black for flying 2/2. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen, and you gain 1 life. When she attacks, return 1 target permanent with a mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I'm switching from a aristocrat go wide strategy into very much a sacrificing permanence kind of world, because I want to try to pump her, get some life, and it takes the deck in an entirely different direction.
Saki,
Yeah.
check this out. I played in a game against you, and you would have had the win if you were able to get 1 point of damage through. Remember that darkness, the key timed darkness?
Sure.
Yeah. And I think this actually gets around it. Now, the commander costs 2 more to play than Clavellino, but like you said, he was slow already. This one, the fact that you could just sacrifice a permanent whenever you want, gain 1 life, and then trigger your loop. Oh, I gained a life. Now you all lose a life. Oh, because you lost a life, I gain a life. Oh, because I gained a life, you lose a life. You could do this on anybody's turn now.
Yes, this is true.
This opens up an awful lot of avenues. I could easily see a situation where Carmen is a viable Voltron commander. She flies. She's going to get huge.
Yeah. Because it's not just stuff that I sacrifice, it's everything. So if like the Hobbit deck is creating and sacrificing foods, she just gets bigger.
Wait, that says whenever a player. I kept thinking that was you.
No,
wow.
a player.
Oh no,
so
my whole deck is sacrifice loops.
You're.
Oh no.
Yeah, so honestly, Paul, if you're listening, you were right. He told me to actually go with this commander at the beginning of the season, and I didn't. But here's the thing. I don't know if she's actually going to work this far into the season. So it requires some pivots on some ads. So let's go over to my ad area.
For sure. Let's see what you got here.
I don't think it'll be surprising to anyone. Anybody that's listened to the upgrade path for Carmen kind of knows which direction I'm going, and that is Plague Crafters. The first choice, kind of expensive, not a vampire. You'll notice the theme here. Lotho, a corrupt sheriff. He's the cheapest way to get treasures currently, right?
I wanted to put the sheriff in my deck too. I just haven't had room yet. There's a lot of second spells going on, and a treasure's pretty valuable in a low power format.
And the fact that this is white and black, I don't have as much ramp as I would like. Obviously, green, etc. I am sometimes in certain situations starved for mana, so I think this would be a good way to both get mana and make Carmen bigger, right? Because I'm not getting her out until the 4th turn, maybe earlier because of Lotho. But in any case, I'm expecting to have some treasure here and about. But the big ads are a theme. The first one, of course, is the Tried and True Plague Crafter. 2 and a black for a 3/2 body. When Plague Crafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who doesn't discards a card. It's probably the best set of powers on any of the Plague Crafter style cards, right? Planeswalker, creature, and discard a card if you can. The second one is Demon's Disciple. He's a human cleric. He's also 2 and a black. And he has basically the same abilities, except he doesn't have the last one about discard a card. It's you sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. So basically, in this scenario, I'm going to attack. I have Carmen on the board. I cast this. I force everyone to sacrifice a creature, and I sacrifice the Plague Crafter. I attack with Carmen, bring the Plague Crafter back, force everyone to sack again. I've just added, possibly plus, 4 plus 6 to Carmen.
You're so going to get targeted now.
Like I wasn't before. Vampires always get punched in the face. Very punchable.
Turgid is out of budget, right? Isn't she like $7-8? Turgid?
I don't know. I haven't looked at her.
Oh boy, let's just make sure. $10. Oh,
Very good.
good.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. All right, good.
So
Demon's
next-
Disciple is really just a Plaguecrafter clone. Same mana cost, basically does the same thing, one less toughness.
It's
Right.
like the Great Value brand. It's supposed to be the same, but it's just slightly not as good.
A
But
little
it's-
more filler.
yeah.
in the- yeah,
But it's
in that
slightly
recipe.
better than like the Fleshbag Marauder, which is just sacrifice a creature, so it doesn't also include the Planeswalker clause.
Right, that's dollar store. Yeah,
That is definitely dollars.
that's dollar store Playcraft.
All right.
there.
So the next one is kind of in the same vein. Vampires, get it? Vein. All right. Henrika Domathi.
Domnati.
Domnathi.
Enrica Domnati.
Yeah, she's a 2/2 legendary creature vampire, flying 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one of the following that hasn't already been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature. You draw a card and you lose a life, and transform her. I didn't actually take pictures of the transformation, but she basically becomes a flying death touch lifelinker, I believe, on a 2/3 body.
What's she called? Henrika Domnati.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Flip button. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so she's a 3/4 flying death touch lifelink. And she actually has the ability, each creature you control with flying death touch and or lifelink get +1/+0 until the end of turn, and that's for 1 black. So it's kind of an expensive, Breath of Flame, I guess, for vampires. But obviously the interesting thing about her is that she's got the Plaguecrafter effect. She's got draw on her, and at very least, she becomes a pretty nasty 3/4.
Cool.
Vampires. So anyway, and let's look at the last one, Tragic Arrogance. And this is actually replacing a previous ad that I put in here. It's actually right above it. I'm replacing Board Wipe with Board Wipe, Hour of Reckoning, which is convoke, destroy all non-token creatures in a world where I wanted to be able to just destroy everything but my flying vampires, to Tragic Arrogance, which has a lot more synergy with Carmen.
And 3 white pips in a 3-color deck. That's tough.
Yeah. Well, 2-color deck. 2-color deck.
Oh,
It's black
2-color. Okay.
It's hard even in a 2-color deck.
It is.
3 white pips, you can very easily end up not being able to do that.
Right. Exactly. So Tragic Arrogance is a little easier to cast at 3 2 whites. Sorcery. For each player, you may choose from among the permanents that player controls: an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, planeswalker. Then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents they control.
I don't like that.
Well, then it's sacrifice, not destroy, which means Carmen gets bigger, and I get to choose Carmen to stay alive.
I don't like that. So you could just pick anything. You could pick you get to keep your Thopter. Have fun,
Yes,
buddy.
you get to keep your Thopter, man.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's even worse if you can find something that's an artifact, a creature, and an enchantment. You could be like, yeah, all 3 of them, that one.
Can you do that? Choose
Sure.
Oh, I guess so.
If they have an artifact
different.
creature, no, it doesn't say different. If they have an artifact creature and an enchantment creature, that could be 2 of your choices.
Wow.
Yeah, Tragic Arrogance is absolutely brutal, and I can see how it's going to be like the real danger with stuff like Plaguecrafter and Demon's Disciple is that you just get people just sacrifice their sapperlings or their token elves or whatever. Stuff like Tragic Arrogance is really necessary in a deck like this because you have to get rid of those. You have to get rid of those things. You have to minimize the number of permanents on the battlefield so that your other sacrifice effects are actually useful. And Tragic Arrogance is like one of the best cards for it. I love that card. It's one of my favorites in the game.
Commander 21. Okay. So
66 cents.
deal. 66 cents is a deal. Hey, so Plaguecrafter or Demon's Disciple, since the opponent gets to choose what they sack, those are probably most impactful early game. And after a board wipe when people just start to try to recover.
Right. It also works if I actually want to be able to do a point of damage. If I've got something like Blood Artist out, cast that. I don't even have to connect with anyone. We were talking earlier about doing a point of damage to combo off. Those give me other options too.
Exquisite Blood, right? That's what you're running?
Yeah, it's an Exquisite Blood combo. Normally I'd be running Veto, but $9 these days. So I'm using a Marauding Blood Priest instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vito's so expensive compared to that Marauding Blight Priest. And we talked about that in episode 1, if anybody wants to check that out after this one.
So I don't know how this pivot's going to go. Hopefully it will be more fun. It maybe will get me a little bit more recursion. I'm kind of interested to see what I can cough back up from the grave with Carmen. And she's a better kisser than her brother.
I'm going to let Grumpy Chris take over after that one.
Yeah. Now I'm weirded out. I don't even know what to say. Okay. Can you get up to my list?
There we go.
Okay. So what I noticed after the last game was that my deck is now online. At some point, I drew an absurd number of cards. Derevi made a huge number of creatures, drew an insane number of cards, and was very effective at opening up other players. The Hobbits deck had a really large amount of life. I think it was well over 50. He had an enormous board state. I attacked into the Blink player, who did not have a whole lot of great blocks. I couldn't do a lot of damage to him, but what I did was I essentially opened up the Hobbits player for a commander damage attack from Sake, and
that's right.
Took him out of the game. It may or may not have been the correct strategic choice.
You have a lot of ways to get through just because of the go wide strategy that comes in the Token Triumph deck you're playing.
Right.
Derevi's the perfect commander for that. So you were able to swing through and actually finish with commander damage or regular damage?
Oh, no. I just opened up the other player.
And I had a
I did no damage to that player myself. I opened it because I
tapped down everything that he had. I gotcha.
Yeah, and he was pretty unhappy about it.
But Sake, did you kill him with commander damage, or did you kill him with?
I did. I actually killed him with Clavilino. I had put he was a 23/23 at the time.
Wow.
So he was a big boy.
Other than that, you had no board. You were essentially out of the game at that point.
Yes, I was merely your cudgel. You just basically did the Aikido move, opened the dude up, and you know I was going to stab him in the chest. Because it's my nature. I'm a vampire.
This is true. So this Token Triumph deck, it sounds like, this is the perfect fit for Derevi. And, that's one of the least used abilities is tap down somebody's permanent, at least when I play against Derevi usually. And the fact that you can just use this as a way to open someone up and you don't have to expend the resources on actually swinging at them, or risk your creatures. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. I really wish that it had come online a little earlier. We're halfway through the season now, and I'm not. And other than the concession, I'm 0 in. Other than the concession, if the Blink player hadn't conceded after he realized he hadn't gotten his combo, I'd be 0 and 5. I feel like the deck is doing pretty well now. The amount of cards that I can draw and the board states that I can generate are really good. The big problem, and the problem that I've had with Bant in general, and this is true of Simic in a way also, is that it's really hard to break parity. You can get your board state to a point where you are equal to or even surpass a ton of other, like all the other players, but you can't win. You just have contributed to a board stall essentially. And I've been running into that problem so far. I don't know that this is going to fix it. I removed a couple things. One of the slower token generators, Slate of Ancestry, which was kind of a bad way to draw a whole lot of cards. And Palace was just, it was the worst double colored land in the deck. And I just wanted something that didn't come into play tapped and had the potential at least to give me all three colors. Avacyn's Pilgrim is kind of the same way. It was it isn't the worst mana dork in the deck, but it didn't really feel like it was doing much for me. Citywide Bust, destroy all powers, creatures with toughness 4 or greater. Didn't really feel like it was winning any games. Also, I believe in luck, and I never drew it. I just never drew the card. I haven't drawn it in 5 weeks.
Wow.
Clearly, the card hates me, and
You're estranged.
Yeah. So I replaced the mana, the Elfane Palace, with Exotic Orchard. It's in most precons now. For some reason, this one doesn't come with it. Probably because it's a 2-color deck. It's Felwar Stone as a land. It gives the color of some other players' lands. This one is pretty cool. I went really deep on Scryfall searches, and I found this instant, Banishing Knack. It's an instant for 1 blue, and it says, until end of turn, target creature gains, tap, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. This is if I have if somebody's open and I have enough creatures, this is a board wipe. It's a 1 mana board wipe.
It's basically a Cyclonic Rift.
It is a Cyclonic Rift, if under not unusual circumstances for this deck.
So basically you swing in with a bunch of tokens, connect with creatures, that triggers Derevi multiple times, cast this in response, and start bouncing all non-land permanents. Really cool.
Yeah,
Is
all
that
for 1
Morningtide?
mana at instant speed.
Mm-hmm. Is that a Morningtide common?
I have no idea. I very rarely pay any attention to.
That was from a time period in Magic where there was a recession in the game and less packs were cracked. Oh, here it is. Eventide.
Eventide.
Yeah, not Morningtide. Eventide.
Even less popular than Morningtide.
Morningtide is the basically flipped version of this logo, I believe.
Oh,
Wow.
right. So this was Mirrodin, or not Mirrodin, the Fae set. Yeah, I wasn't playing the game then either. It doesn't matter.
Shards of Alara, that type of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're running short on time, so I'm just going to burn through the rest of this. I got rid of that 1 mana dork, and I moved back a card that I had removed earlier. I moved it back in. Karametra's Favor. It's an enchantment aura, 1 green and 1 enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, enchant, and you can tap the creature to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's not great. It's 2 mana for, 1 mana, but it gets me any color mana, and I was having trouble hitting blue.
And it replaces itself. I saw the $0, and I was wondering about that. So basically it came with the deck, and you took it out, and now you're adding it back in because it's part of your season collection.
That's correct.
Cool.
And this one is, the next 2 are ones I'm actually very proud of. This is some cool tech right here. Aboleth Spawn is 1 blue and 2. It's a creature, fish horror. It's a 2/3, and it's got a lot of text on it. It has flash, it has ward 2, and it has an ability called Probing Telepathy. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Remember back when we were playing Amped Guard?
Yeah, you mean like the LARPing thing without the role playing, just swinging swords
at
at each other,
and
beating on each other. Yeah.
I got really into like sword fighting and goofy stuff like that. I remember I had a thing that I used to say all the time about how like every move needs to be a block and an attack.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is good when melee fighting.
Yeah, Aboleth Spawn is that. Aboleth Spawn shuts down the blink player and it doesn't necessarily shut him down. They still get that ability, right? But if they attempt to go off, like the Abdel Adrian combo, right, is a whole bunch of creature ETB triggers. If he tries to go off with Aboleth spawn on the table and make infinite creatures or bounce all our stuff infinitely, I get those triggers first.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
if he tries to make infinite soldiers, I get infinite soldiers. Only I get them first. If he tries to blink everything, I get the blinks first.
So would it be that he declares his target, which creature he's going to blink, and then yours goes off, and then you would target that creature, the same one he's going to target, right? Which would make his fizzle, but it would still come back, and he would still get the ETB. But I guess you could use that to blink your own mono rocks.
Well, see, I get the effect of the ETB. So whenever he uses Abdel Adrian's ability to generate a soldier, I also get that ability. I get a soldier as well.
Or his ETB creatures that give him a card draw.
Exactly.
But it won't stop his combo, his blink infinite combo. But all the peripheral things that help him win the game from that combo, you would get copies of each of those.
Yes.
Interesting. Huh.
So I'm hoping. I'll just say that I'm hoping. There's a lot of hope involved in this card. It doesn't look like a hopeful card, but it is.
But if I play Brea, my commander, and she enters the battlefield and creates 2 Thopters, you get 2 Thopters?
I get 2 Thopters.
I don't like this card very much.
It's a great card.
It has
Maybe
word
you should
too.
consider playing it.
It's pretty funny. $3.84. That's rich.
I've seen it in a couple Kinnan lists, actually.
It shuts down. It messes with Thoracle.
I was just thinking that when he said Kinnan.
It messes with Thassa's Oracle.
Whoever has the Aboleth spawn, their copy of Thassa's Oracle ETB goes off first.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, let's go to your last ad, Chris.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of time. Okay, this is a weird one. Whisperwood Elemental. It was just reprinted in the Disguise Precon for Murders at Karloff Manor, or Markov's at Precon Manor, or whatever it's called. It's 2 green and 3. It's a creature elemental, and it's a 4/4. At the beginning of your end step, manifest the top card of your library. That means put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, then face up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. Sacrifice Whisperwood Elemental until end of turn. Face up non-token creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, manifest the top card of your library. So this is board wipe insurance. Somebody wipes, I sacrifice Whisperwood Elemental, and all of my creatures become 2/2s, which are also potentially creatures that I can turn over. It's not the greatest board wipe insurance, but given that my deck requires so many creatures on the battlefield in order for all kinds of things to work, card draw, all sorts of things, it seemed like it was worth the $1.16. And there are a couple of cards that it really, really synergizes well with. I added Rite of Harmony earlier this season. In response, I cast Rite of Harmony, and it, in response to his ability, and I draw as many cards as I have creatures. Yeah, there's a lot of synergy in that card. I'm really hoping that, I don't really want to run into a board wipe, but it's inevitably going to happen, and I hope that it actually pays off this season.
Nice.
There's not too many ways. There's not too many other ways to really do that, especially in green. If you're going to lose all your creatures, you're just going to replace them with a whole bunch. Unless you're looking at maybe get a sapperling or get a squirrel, or I can't think of any specific cards, but yeah, that is an interesting ad. That's definitely going to catch some people by surprise the first time.
Oh yeah. I figure people will probably kill it before the board wipe next time, or kill it in response to the board wipe eventually. But I can always still, I can just sacrifice it in response if I expect them to be doing that. So anyway, I think those are all my ads, and I don't really have all that much more to say, at least this week. Hopefully next week we can talk a little bit longer. The murders at Karloff Manor Precons, talk about that a little bit.
Get some ideas for next season. I know some people are already calling dibs on one of them.
Oh yeah, 2 of them. We've had people call Revenant Recon and Deep Clue C.
Yeah, there's some
not
hotness.
surprised.
Yeah, it's spicy reprints. Toxic Deluge is in there, right?
Yeah. And
Necromancy.
Guys, that means next season is going to be even more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely going to have to get our A game on here by the end of this season. Try to bag some wins, because next season it's going to be even tougher.
I'm rubbing my hands together right now in an evil manner. I've got plans. I got plans for next season.
I haven't even thought about it yet.
Neither have I.
I'm so focused on this season. Well, that's all I've got. How about you guys?
That's it.
I say we pass priority.
If we inspired your deck brewing ideas, help your friends. They might need it. Drop this on your favorite Discord. Tap that untapped like. Then we know you want more budget upgrade paths. This is Precon Life. Pass turn.